Hey there, welcome back to Manotick StringWorks. Glad to have you here. Please remember to like and subscribe for more video content. So today on the workbench, we have this nice 2020 Fender made in Mexico Stratocaster in Tidepool Blue. Standard 3 single coil setup, maple neck and fretboard. Yeah, it looks really good, nice and clean. It's a relatively new guitar, of course. A few new stickers up on the cabinet. So string change and setup. Let's see what we find. So I like to check the electronics first, make sure everything's in good order. Do the tap test, something metallic on the pole pieces of the pickups. Move your selector along to the different positions, in this case 5 different positions on a Strat. Yeah, everything's working well here, that's good. And no scratchy pots or anything either. The client already had some work done. They put a bone nut in to replace that synthetic nut that Fender is using these days. Looks good, nicely polished. Looks like a nice job. And just checking the bridge. There seems to be enough room under the saddles to lower the strings if we need to, and there is some intonation, which is a good sign. Alright, we'll start off by checking the condition or the setup condition of the guitar. So 12 thousandths feeler gauge, 7th fret, capo on the 1st. And yeah, it's just scraping the 12 thousandths, so that's pretty good. Check the pickup height. Sorry, not the pickup height, the string height. Use my string gauges. So Fender at the 17th fret, you know, somewhere between 4 and 5/64 is good. And this one's landing right in there, so not bad. And then I'll just check the action at the 1st fret. I'm assuming it's going to be okay since a new nut was added. Yeah, so it's scraping the 22 thousandths. So it's probably around 20 thousandths, which is nice. Feels good when you do the touch test. Alright. So the client was telling me that there was some scratchiness on the frets, some buzzing, especially on the E or B string around the 12th, 13th, 14th frets. So just sort of trying it myself here. There seems to be a little scratchiness there. So I'll have a look at that. So use the fret rocker, see if there's a high fret in that area. So you span 3 frets, and if it rocks around, that means the middle fret is high. And you can hear it and feel it. But, you know, checking all this out, everything seemed fine. Everything seemed level. So I don't think we have a high fret issue. And the fret doesn't seem to be a fret that's loose either, you know, or it's come up. Let's have a closer look. I did notice some wear. If you see that under the B string, on the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th fret, a little bit on the 15th, there's some sort of unusual wear considering the rest of the frets don't have any. So I don't know if there's a burr on the string or something, I don't know. But I can definitely feel it with my fingernail. Yes, we'll address that when we get the strings off and clean up the frets. So I like to use my DeWalt gyroscopic driver here and makes quick work of taking the strings off. Get that back plate off. Again, I like to use that driver. Makes it nice and fast. Nice and clean in there. And that was sort of out of sequence. Sorry about that. But so I cut the strings after I've loosened them at the headstock. This makes it easier to pull them through the body. They just fall out most of the time. There you go. Clean them up. Make sure they don't scratch anything. So let's have another look at those frets now that the strings are off. So I think you can see in the light there, in the raking light, there's a little bit of damage. This is pretty odd. That's the only spot on the guitar that has that. So I'm going to clean the frets with the fret erasers. So you start with a 150, then 180, 400, and 1000. This should take out those scratches. They're not deep. It is odd, though, that they're there and only in that spot. So it makes me think that maybe the string had a burr on it, and that's what was causing the problem. But once we do this pass with the fret erasers, we'll be able to see whether that's cleaned it up or not. I'll move in a little tighter. Yeah, so there you go, all gone. So they weren't deep scratches, of course. So just using the 150 grit fret eraser got them out, no problem. So I'll just continue with the rest of the erasers on the entire fretboard. And just double check that everything is good. Yeah. There's no rocking, so. Now, here I noticed that when I touch the frets with the fret rocker, which is steel, obviously, made a little mark. Now that is strange. I've never had that happen on a fret before, just touching the frets. So, I don't know. Are the frets soft? A bad patch of frets? It's just very funny. So, if anyone's seen that kind of thing before, please leave a comment. Really curious to know. I think it's just the frets are soft. Not as hard as they should be. Maybe it was a bad quality at the factory, bad production run, who knows. The fret rocker has super smooth edges, so it's never caused that before. They come out, easy, of course, but I'm afraid that with string action, it's going to, slide those strings around. All right, some D'Addario 10 to 46s, new strings. Clean everything off underneath the strings, where the pick guard and everything. It's easier to get at now. So you can stand the guitar up on end like that. On edge, I should say. It's a little easier to pull the strings through. I didn't have my bench vise set up, which I normally do. You can sort of see it in the background underneath my workbench. I was doing some other projects, so this works well too, just with the neck support. With this style of guitar and shape of body, you can usually just stand it up on end. I had to pull the E and B string out because I didn't get them through the saddle holes. Anyways, sometimes that happens. So stringing up, everyone can have a quick look. It's pretty simple. I like to just kink the string. Make sure your wraps go underneath. You want, 2 or 3 wraps at least around each post. Not, you don't want to see more than 3 or 4 usually. Depends on how tall the post is, I guess. And then just get them up to pitch. I'll snip them off. Not short yet, just because in case you have something you want to fix with the string or take it out. Let's tighten up the tuners while we're there. They do loosen up, especially as the guitar dries out in the dry air, winter air. String tree was fine. Alright, so tune up and stretch. So do this 2-3 times at least before you start doing a setup. Just makes your setup a little more consistent, and you're not going to have, especially on the intonation side. I mean, intonation, I find, is not always the best time to do it right after you do a string change, but I sort of like to let the strings settle in for a bit. But if you stretch the strings out a few times, it usually helps out. Alright, so I let this sit for a few hours, come back to it. We'll check the neck relief at the 7th fret with the 12 thousandths first, and then the 10, so it's barely touching the 10. So it's nice and low. I'll leave that. I'm not going to touch that. Check the string height. Start with 5. Yeah, so it's just scraping. It's scraping underneath the string. So that means we're between 4 and 5/64. So I like that. That's where it was when I got it. So we'll leave it there. And nothing changed up at the 1st fret, which I wouldn't have expected it to. We didn't change the string height. Didn't do anything to the neck relief either. Yeah, so about 18 to 20 thousandths, which is very nice. Easy to play. So intonation, open string, can do the harmonic, and then the fretted note at the 12th fret. Adjust your tuning. So here the E string, so the 6th string, seems to be a little bit sharp. And the A string, let's have a look at that. Again, a little bit sharp. So just to go through each of the strings and then just move the saddles forward or backwards to adjust for the intonation. So it didn't have much work to do there, really. Those were the only 2 strings. And the pickup height, I like to start with 1/8 on the bass side, 3/32 on the treble side. I use my gauges. They're brass so they don't stick to the magnets. Yeah, you just go back and forth a few times. So you fret on the last fret and use the feeler underneath the pole piece and the string, or in between the pole piece and the underside of the string. That'll give you a starting point. And then from there, raise or lower them as you see fit. Whatever the sound for your guitar, it works for you. Alright, well, we'll put the backplate back on. A lot of people don't like the backplates on. I don't mind either way, I guess, but since you have it, might as well put it on, and at least you're not going to get any dust or debris or anything in there. Catch something on the springs. Kind of like if Fender were to recess these plates so they were flush, but they don't seem to want to do that. Just give it a quick wipe with a cloth. Alright, that's it. Nice guitar, very playable, good looking. I know the client's really happy with it, so enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Stay healthy, stay safe. Bye for now.